Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world joining us. Welcome back to the Macro Lounge. I am, as always, your co-host, Chris Bold, joined by the queen of all sparkles. She's got all the sparkles going today, Rachel Mead. How are you, Rachel?
I'm good, just, drowning in sparkles, as always.
I feel very sparkly deprived. I think it's, we need to do something about this.
We do.
Not that reel you sent me the other day of bedazzling my bald head, because that is not going to happen.
I thought that was pretty awesome, to be honest. I think we should, we can go to a show with your head just bedazzled, or we can get you like a skull cap, like one of those like netting that you would use under a wig, and we can bedazzle that.
Like a swim cap?
Yeah, like a nude one.
There we go. Yeah, problem solved. Whatever color bikini one of the girls is wearing, I'll be like, there you go. Yeah, I don't know if I could do that. But no, we could give it a try. Give it a crack. How's your week been? What's going on in the world of sparkles and bikinis down there with everybody getting all their orders in and saying, I need bikini for my show and tomorrow?
There's always one. Every time. There's always one. Because we are getting closer to shows now, so I am starting to get a few of the last minute people coming through, because what are we, 4 weeks away from the first IFBB shows and about 8 weeks out from the first ICN show. So last minute ICN people, if you want to get in, please, you need to get in now, because after 8 weeks, that's when things start getting rough, and that's when people get definitely turned away. So yes, but we're doing pretty good. I'm looking forward to the season getting in.
The dazzling selection gets distinctly less choice when you leave it to the last minute. So you want how many colors? You can have two. I
did actually, side note, I did actually order some new connectors, which are very exciting. So they're going to have a hook just on one end. Every other company I've seen has done the hook on both ends, and I don't like it because you can see the hook at the front. These ones have the hook just at one end, so you can like take them off. And it also has like a silicone layer along the back. So it should be, in theory, it should kind of protect your tan from being scratching against the connector.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So let's see what happens when those arrive.
Trial version. Does that mean we have to spray tan you just as a test?
Good question. Or maybe we can spray tan Val and I can send you up a couple.
Okay, sure, she'd be in for that. If I can get her out of her new car, it's kind of like, I think she's moved into it.
Yeah, well, I mean, she can't get out of it by herself, can she?
She does need a step ladder, just to be fair. It is a bit of a step up, quite figuratively and literally, for my darling wife. And it even has a booster seat on the chair, so you can get in it, and when she sits in it, the chair actually elevates. This is brilliant.
Fancy.
I know. So it's like,
so vertically challenged.
Yep. That would be. You do realize she listens to this?
That's why I said vertically challenged and not just short.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we do call her a midget sometimes, and that's, to be fair, that didn't start with me. That was from her side of the of the world, so I cannot be held responsible for that. So yes, but
that's
she's
not my fault.
No. We did look at a mini, but
I
watching me try to get in that was hilarious. Like, those clown car things, where everybody tries to climb into a clown car?
See, that sounds like a you problem.
It was a me problem, because my wife fit in it fine. Me, on the other hand, was like prying under the steering wheel, and it was... I think we made a wise purchasing decision in the end. Very grown-up one, as my wife likes to say. Anyway, that's enough talk about spending money on things that I actually don't like to spend money on. So, what are we going to talk about today? We thought we would talk about sponsorship. Probably, I think, in the world of bodybuilding and fitness, is probably one of the most misunderstood topics around today. So we're not going to talk about the Instagram version or the fantasy version. We're going to sort of look a little bit about the real version. So, what sponsorship actually means, what it costs, what it gives back, what it demands from athletes, and why so many people chase it without really understanding how it really works.
Yes. So I have been sponsored before. Chris, have you been sponsored before?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay.
I have some interesting spots.
We have like kind of both sides of the coin here. So yeah, we've both kind of been sponsored before, and we both also own businesses. So it's like we've got the athlete perspective of what the athlete wants out of it, and also the business perspective of what the business wants out of it. So there is two sides of the story there. It's sponsorship. It is kind of a partnership. It's not just getting things for free. And I think that's where most people go wrong. They are thinking, I'm just getting paid to do this because I'm awesome. That's it really is the way it's painted.
How many times have you had, I have had it so many times, even going back to the days, especially when we were doing the Athlete's Kitchen. We get the emails from people saying, you should sponsor me because I'll tag you in all my posts and people will get to know you. I'm like, dude, you got 50 followers and you've got no interaction. It's just like, they start the request with like, can I have free shit?
Yeah, which no business really wants to hear.
Yeah, you're like, Good for you.
Yeah, no, it's just asking for free stuff. Like, to be honest, even if you were looking for someone to sponsor, for me, like, I'm a little bit petty sometimes, so I would instantly be like, no. Like, even if I was going to sponsor you, maybe if you just suddenly start saying, hey, so that I want it for free, I'd be like, well, you can have it for the money.
Free money.
So
Yes. No. I mean, that's the point. Sponsorship, whatever you want to call it, it's business.
it is.
I mean, I would love to sponsor through various different entities anybody who I actually like for whatever reason, not from a business decision or anything like that. I'd love to be able to just say, look, I'll do this for free because you're actually an awesome human being. But the reality of it is, we've got hungry, starving children / cats to feed in our case. In your case, you need extra sponsorship because your cat is a very growing lad. Mine,
He
on the
eats
other
so
hand,
much.
Ours, on the other hand, is now on a special kidney diet and thyroid diet, and she doesn't like it. So we pay like $5 a meal. It's business, right? It is about numbers.
And then, yeah, like me and Chris always say, like, we honestly would love to do what we do for free. We would love it. Like, I would absolutely, if I one day win lotto, the sign will be that I'll suddenly just stop advertising bikinis for a price, and I will just start making them for people that I like for free. Or I would just make a whole bunch and be like, you have a suit, you have a suit. I would love to do that, but unfortunately, I got bills to pay. And also bikinis cost money to make.
Yeah. Also got to buy the tickets. So I've always said that if I won the lottery, I would open myself the most amazing gym with every single piece of equipment that you'd ever want. And then I would just say it's, membership is by invite only. It's like, you can show up, I'm sorry, we're full. There's nobody here. Yeah, we're full. That would be my ideal dream.
Our max number of members today is 1.
And it's me. Yeah, that would be me. Which is probably why we don't sponsor a lot of people, Rachel.
Yes. But so if anyone wants to sponsor us to live our dreams like that, go for it.
Please email the producer at hello at she would love that. She's constantly telling us that we need to sponsor her.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much of a sponsorship it is and more of like an actual employment and actually paying her for her work.
Slave labor doesn't count, does it?
Probably not. More like she almost sponsors us through work and labor.
It's true.
Okay.
Yeah, it's true. Yes, with enough said about that, probably the better, because we will get in trouble later on. So before we'll go on about lots of things to do with sponsorship. We're going to talk about the expectations. We'll have a look at some real numbers, which will probably shock a few people, so that you guys actually understand that sponsorship actually looks like financially in today's landscape. So to give you some ideas of some numbers, I want to give you, Rachel, I came up with a couple of real world scenarios. You can kind of split athletes into various different levels. If you like, you've got like an entry level athlete, probably somebody who's a first time competitor, got about 1,500 to 3,000 followers on their social media platforms. That kind of sponsorship is, what can you really expect? If you're approaching any of these supplement companies, or in Rachel's case, Bikini company, or even in our case through the posing academy or through coaching. Generally, it's your supplement stores is going to be your first go-to, right? That was probably your first sponsorship, I imagine, Rach?
Yes, yeah. It was a supplement company that I was sponsored by. Sorry, my S's were struggling there.
So your typical sort of sponsorship that you're going to be looking at for those first-time sort of athletes, you're probably going to get a couple of tubs of protein a month. You'll get a discount code, and you'll get some form of affiliate commission depending on who they are, where they are. And it's generally going to be under a 10% commission. Especially in New Zealand, the margins are extremely low. You're probably going to make, that value is probably somewhere around the $50 to $100 a month.
I don't even think you get that. Like at this point, to my knowledge, the way that most, I guess, not even sponsorships, I guess they're more affiliates. There is a difference. But the way most of it works is that the amount of times your code is used is a certain percentage of how much you can claim as like a store credit. So you'd get sometimes, let's say 5%. I've had points where it's 1% of whatever the total cost was. And then that is the amount you get that you can withdraw. It could be monthly. Some places don't do it monthly. You can do it whenever you want, whenever you save up enough. So you have to earn what you get. You don't actually get it for free, and you're not getting like a monthly thing all the time. They used to do it more like the monthly one. That's what I had back when I had my supplement sponsorship. I was able to get a monthly store credit of X amount, and it was just make this many posts, make X amount of posts, and you get this amount of supplements that you get to choose. Most companies don't do it like that. Most companies are like, okay, so you have to earn your amount of store credit. You get this much commission. Usually you don't get any payout. Sometimes you might if you get over a certain amount of commission, but the company usually is still making money off you at that point.
Yeah, well, I would hope so. I mean, there are some exceptions to the rule. When we had Cam on last year, like they talked about how they do theirs, where it is a commission affiliate where they pay theirs out in cash, not in store credit. But that is unusual. But again, you're looking. New Zealand's a small market. Australia is a small market. So your likely commission is going to be very, very low. And if you're expecting your sponsorship to cover the cost of your prep, you're in for a rude awakening. I mean, if you're talking about food of around $150 a week, coaching anywhere in the realms of $80 to $150 a week, you're going to blow that real quick. You're going to need to sell a lot of tubs of protein. It helps, but it's not going to fund your prep, right?
Yes, like usually if you are to make money off doing social media, it has to be your full-time job. And generally, you can't do that in New Zealand because New Zealand doesn't pay you for having a certain amount of views like they do overseas. So it is very difficult to make money off doing or even getting sponsorships. You have to be a very high athlete. Even then, there's athletes who go to the Olympia, for example, and they don't get their Olympia trip paid for.
No,
they might have a couple of sponsorships for certain things, but they are paying for almost everything themselves and they still have to have a full-time job.
Yep.
So it's very rare for things to get paid for.
Classic example is Andrew Jack, who just won, two? I think he ran the Arnolds in Ohio, and I think he just won the Arnolds, if I remember correctly, the UK. He is a full-time tradesman. He still calls competitive bodybuilding his hobby. I think he might be considering hanging up his tool belt now. But it's like Ronnie Coleman was still a police officer with 4 Olympia wins. Admittedly, imagine being pulled over by Ronnie Coleman. Yes, sir, whatever you said I was doing. Yeah. So the next level of, I guess, athlete, your mid-level athlete, that's probably somebody who's already achieved some, in a regional show or if you're in Australia or the US, like some top local shows, moving up to, like in the US, it would be a regional show, would be considered a state show type stuff. Same in Australia. So you've probably got a fairly decent following. I'm not sure how many will be, from the sports related. That sort of level, if you've got like 5,000, 15,000 followers, you've got a pretty decent competitive career going on. You're probably going to get a bit more of a heavy supplement allocation. You might be getting your full supplement allocation covered for. Probably going to get a little bit of apparel, and probably a similar commission structure that you were on the affiliate code. But even then, you're still looking at probably $150 to $500 a month. And last time I checked, it's pretty hard to live in New Zealand, or anywhere in the world for that matter, on $500 a month. And if you do know how to do it, could you please forward your advice to us? Because I would love to know how to save some money to put diesel in my wife's new car. But if you compare that to a season cost of around, we've talked before about, the calculators, $6,000, $10,000 to a season, $500 ain't going to go very far.
No, it's just to kind of bring some of the costs down usually. Like, it's very rare that someone will get everything paid for. Like, it's almost unheard of. Only really the top Olympians are able to get that point where they're not really paying for anything.
Mm-hmm.
These days, they don't really get paid much by their sponsors either. So it used to be a big thing that you would get like almost like a salary from sponsors. Sports, it is still a thing, like football, you would get that, but a lot of sports, not so much. Even like people going to who are winning the Olympics, usually they still have to have a job. It's just, it's very, very uncommon. So usually even those top Olympians, they still have to work. They get things paid for, but they are not getting a salary. No. Even winning the Olympia, what do you get? What is it, 30K USD?
For a bikini?
Yeah.
3/4 of stuff, especially when you compare it to the Open. But I mean, that's changed like back in my day. If you're almost going, if you go back to when the magazines were huge, like, when you had the Flex, Muscular Development, Muscle and Fitness, all of those big things that would come out monthly. Back in the Weider days and Joe Weider days, a lot of the lion's share of the top Olympians were all contracted to Joe Weider, to the Weider Corporation, where they made supplements, they made gym equipment, they had the magazines. To get a Weider contract, that was the holy grail, because you got paid a base salary. You got paid more if you were in the magazines. But again, he had all of the top guys under contract. It was very, very rare for anybody in certainly in the top 5 or 6 of the Olympia, who wasn't a Weider contracted athlete. These days, nobody's contracted by the Olympia that I'm aware of, and you don't have those magazines. And also, they don't really want to put a open bodybuilder on a lot, to a large extent, on a lot of their advertising, because most of the world, and as we know, bodybuilding is a very, very small subculture of a subculture of a subculture. If you're paying a top athlete, in particularly open bodybuilding, a substantial salary, the reality is most of the world, one, won't know who that person is, and two, will look at that person and go, well, that's freaking disgusting, which is why you probably see more sponsorship across the bikini side from the small side, because it's more marketable and more approachable. And that was one of the original eyes of bikini. You used to, one of the judging criteria in bikini used to be, can we market that athlete now? You know, can we put them on a magazine cover? Now, what's a magazine cover? Rachel says, I haven't seen one of those. But it's definitely, you're not seeing that anymore. So people still hold this idea that they're going to make a living out of being a sponsored athlete.
Social media changed the game, because it actually hasn't been that long if you think about it. Because social media probably got really like big and exploded 10 years ago. Like Instagram came out probably no more than 15 years ago. It's actually not that long when you think about it.
It's a new thing.
Ashley K's been competing at the Olympia that long.
Yeah.
It's really, it hasn't been that long, which is why people often have it in their minds that yes, you can get paid, because all these older athletes, they used to get that. They used to get their salaries, they used to get everything paid for, they didn't have to work, and they got to travel the world and get paid to do it. It's not a thing anymore. Now that we have social media, it doesn't happen, because why would a company pay you and pay for you to travel and pay all these expenses when they can get other people to do that basically for free?
Yeah. You will get still, probably
very rare, it's like 0.0001%. Like it's so
There's
few.
a few of those top tier. And we'll get in a little bit of the social media influencers versus competitors. But, the top tier athletes, and we're not talking your national tier athlete, who's won a regional or, an overall local qualifier. When they get to the top tier, they might be on a paid contract. They're probably getting some form of travel assistance. They might be getting some form of appearance fees to show up at some form of convention or a store opening or anything like that. But those are, in this part of the world, we haven't had a fitness expo in New Zealand, I don't remember in how long, probably pre-COVID. In Australia, they're only just sort of getting back into it. But those are sort of, at that top level, that's available to you. You can, I remember the days when Optimum, in fact, Dr. Susan Baxter, who we had on last season, she was once an Optimum Nutrition sponsored athlete, and they paid for her to go to these different conferences and wave the Optimum Nutrition flag and do all that sort of stuff. And even EHP Labs used to do a lot of it. But you're just that level of support where they've given it a stipend. It's not a salary. They're given a little bit. You're paid for when you're there. You're expected to go, and they'll pay for your travel, and you'll get some appearance fees. Again, not a full-time job. You might make $5,000, $3,000. Now, $3,000 a month, we're starting to talk. That's livable. Kind of.
Can you have a part-time job?
I'm about to say for $3,000 a month, I probably not do it. But they still have to have full-time jobs. And I guess then you start getting into the whole, I guess we could call it the fourth scenario, versus competitors. So you've got, say, athlete who's won a few shows, probably doesn't spend a lot of time doing posting. To be fair, I think the female athletes are a hell of a lot better at their social media than the male athletes. So at what point does the athlete cross from being an athlete to an influencer? Are they focused on their competitive results, or are they focusing on building their brand, building social media presence, consistently posting stuff, building the trust? Brands are usually going to pick that athlete who's built themselves as a brand, who's built themselves as somebody they can trust, who's offering some form of value. So if a brand is looking for a sponsorship or a brand ambassador, who are they going to look for? I mean, Rach, if you're looking for somebody to post, who are you going to be posting? The girl who does the best looking photo, or somebody who is actually sharing a common belief, principle, similar ethics to yourself? Which option are you going to look at? The athlete that's, yes, I'm here to be a world champion, but nobody cares about because you're not doing it, or somebody who's actually building that trust or influencing their trust?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's definitely like a big thing, especially for like smaller brands as well. So like, not that smaller can be very relative to scale. Like smaller as in you're not like the number one company in the world maybe. But generally, like a lot of the smaller brands do like to have athletes that are more dedicated to that brand, that are more loyal. So if I'm looking for someone, like I've got a couple of people who are affiliated with me now, I'm looking for someone who has bought from me before and wanted to come back. So they like my stuff. They're not just coming to me to get free stuff or to just try and sell something. They actually like what they're getting and they want to promote it because they like it. That's something that's very important to me, but I know that other companies don't have that. There is a lot of companies, there is a specific Australian company and also US that I can think of right now. You can apply to be an affiliate on their website and they just give you a code. And you don't even have to have bought anything from them before. You just start promoting your code, and once you saved enough from getting people buying their stuff, you can just get something for free. You never have to have paid the company anything. So it does depend on the company a little bit, and it depends on their margins. A company with bigger margins is going to be able to give out more discount codes. In fact, most of these companies probably do their pricing based on the fact that everyone is using that discount code. The company is not giving stuff for free. They're saying, okay, all my prices are 5% higher because I expect everyone to use this 5% discount code.
Would you say that influence, particularly social media influence now, does that beat competitive placings from a commercial value? Or which way would you lean?
I mean, I would ideally want someone who is going to be placing well, but that's also the type of company I have. People want a bikini that is going to win, usually. So to have someone placing higher is a lot better because people are more likely to listen. But if it's, for example, supplements, I think that's a little bit of a different story because you have a different approach there because you can go for the lifestyle route. People will look at that person and think, oh, she looks amazing. I want to do whatever she's doing. Lifestyle people aren't buying a $8,000 to $1,000 bikini, but just because they want to look pretty and sparkly. So it does also depend on the type of business as well. But yeah, I mean, obviously if you're placing better, that's going to help. But yeah, depending on what you're doing, if you're looking at like supplements or something like that, placings aren't going to matter as much as your social presence. But generally, your social presence is a minimum requirement. If you are not posting ever, even if you are winning you're not really going to be a consideration unless you're doing so well that you're going to go overseas and compete internationally and do well. That's the only time that it would really happen.
We would probably both fall into that category because we are both absolutely shocking at posting anything on social media.
I used to be really good. I used to post twice a week.
Woo.
I know, now I can't be bothered taking photos.
Yeah, it's like, that sounds like a hassle.
Yeah.
I'm not recording myself at the gym. Nobody needs to see that. But I think one of the things about influencers and stuff, influencers versus competitors and placings versus, social media influence, there is a reality in New Zealand that, as Rach mentioned previously, Instagram does not directly pay creators in New Zealand. The model doesn't exist. So, you could have the biggest following. You could spend all of your time creating this absolutely brilliant content and, you created this in other countries, what could be a very lucrative business. In New Zealand, it won't be because they don't pay creators in New Zealand. I know there's some exceptions to that rule with YouTube and all that sort of carry on, like they get paid per number of thousands of views. And there are some people in New Zealand that have managed to turn that into a business. But as a rule, that's not sponsorship. That's you doing your own thing, right? And then you might get businesses come to you and say, we will sponsor you because you clearly have a market that is generating. But generally, as an athlete in New Zealand, that income is typically going to come from an affiliate link. It's going to come from being a coach themselves. In some cases, it could be a brand deal with some of the more local-based companies. To an extent, there could be some merchandise that they sell for themselves. Probably not something you're going to see hugely in New Zealand. If you do want some merchandise, it's available at our website. I should put that up. Don't do it because my wife will kill me. But it's generally going to come from an affiliate link, going to come from them being coaches themselves. And we've had that whole discussion about athletes being coaches at the same time previously. It's not going to come from your social media influence. Sorry.
Yeah. And the other thing to remember is also that the costs of everything has gotten very high in New Zealand. So, and even overseas as well, wherever you are, cost of everything has risen just so much in the past 5 years. COVID really screwed everyone. So the margins and profits aren't necessarily as big as they used to be for a lot of those businesses. Some businesses weren't so affected. So for example, a posing coach, there's no cost involved unless they're paying rent to actually have a studio. But for like a supplement company, like when we talked to Cam, he said sometimes if people use a discount code, he's almost losing money on some of his products. So when your margins are that small, and in countries like New Zealand where we do not have the turnover because there's just not enough people, the businesses can't afford to give you more anyway. So that's something else to remember, is that even overseas, a lot of businesses cannot afford to give you much more than or give you the amount that they used to be able to, because the profits are a lot smaller now.
Yeah, the margins are a lot smaller. I think one of the things is And it can be very frustrating from a business owner's perspective or from a commercial perspective. We mentioned it briefly before. Most athletes think they deserve sponsorship. Most sponsors think the athletes overestimate their value. And that is something you have to be very, very aware of, is what value are you bringing to that business? Because it is a business. It doesn't matter how good an athlete you are. If you cannot bring a return on that investment to that business, they're not going to sponsor you. Unless, as Rachel said, they happen to win the lottery and just want to be a really nice person. And that doesn't happen very frequently.
One tip I will give people from both sides of the fence as well is tag people in things. So actually show the business that you are liking their product and that you can like give them content. Because if you don't ever tag them in anything, and they probably also don't know that you exist, and they also don't think you're a very loyal customer, you could have never bought anything from them. So if you tag them in things and you like comment on things, you engage with that company on social media or wherever, you're more likely to get noticed. That company is going to know who you are. If you've never once engaged with that company other than say, hey, can you sponsor me? The answer is likely going to be no. If you have engaged with that company, like at least shopped with that company a few times before, you are much more likely to get a yes to that question. You are much more, or at least like a, let's have a look what we can do. It's just not very common to be able to just be like, hey, I want this, like come sponsor me. Because it's also like a sponsorship isn't really just getting free stuff. Like that's the biggest mistake. You are still working for the amount that you're being given. You still have to provide content. So it's almost like being a model, but without the actual modeling part. Like, well, I mean, it is kind of still with you have to post content and advertise. You are an advertiser at that point. And in exchange for your advertising, they are giving you either a discount or a free product.
Yeah. It's just a different advertising lineup for businesses, as you said. They are paying you. You're doing the advertise for them. So instead of them paying for their own Google ads or their own Meta ads and doing that sort of stuff, that budget is being allocated to their sponsored athletes or their affiliates that they're using. The reality is sponsors don't pay for abs and goods.
Ads.
Abs.
No, you were correct.
Not asses.
I was like,
I didn't think about
that. Carry on.
They pay for influence and outcomes. They pay for what you drive towards them, and it's all measurable. If you don't achieve a measurable result, you're not going to be very long.
And why would they give you something if you're asking for a set amount and you're not giving them a lot? Why would they give it to you when someone else will give them that for free? Because, to be honest, as I said, you do want to tag and engage with the content, but people are already going to be doing that anyway. So at that point, what are you actually doing for them? So you do need to think about that, is that it is still a business exchange. It's not, well, yes, I just want to support you, because people can't afford to do that anymore. It's very rare. If you are like Valerie Adams, maybe, yes, sure. Or if you are Maureen Blancuso, yes, fine. But we don't really have any of those here. I mean, we do have the beautiful Kate, but even she probably isn't getting a full sponsorship paid free ride. She would get certain things sponsored. Yeah.
And she holds down a very successful professional career. I've never heard her even once talk about giving that up. She's a very highly skilled person. But we will talk a little bit about how to attract some sponsors as well. We'll get into that a little bit as well. And we sort of talked just previously, we've talked a little bit about finance, but if we can flip that around a little bit, a lot of people are not really aware what brands genuinely expect from the athlete or the influencer that they support. They are looking for, as Rachel said, visibility. They're looking for regular tagging. They're looking for product integration. They're looking for consistent representation. As she said, tag their products if you're using it. If they make a comment about a product that you support or that you want to be sponsored by, comment on their product. That if you don't participate with them, they're not going to know you exist, because none of us in New Zealand are the Ashley Kays or the Seabums of the world. You've got to give them a reason. So regular tagging, product integration, as Rachel and I were talking about earlier before we started recording. Professional behavior matters to a sponsor. Yeah. They are looking at, if you approach them for sponsorship or they're considering sponsorship, you can be damn sure they're stalking your social media first. I do that with every athlete that approaches me to coach them. First thing I'm doing is I say to my lovely wife, what do we know about this person? And she'll do her little deep dives and she'll find you. Don't worry, she will find you. We find out first, So be professional, because that matters. Includes your communication, being your reliability, protecting their reputation. It's their business, right?
100%. And I'm the same. When I'm looking for people, I mean, I don't look for a lot of affiliates because, again, I can't afford them. But I do have just a couple of people that I pretty much actually use it more to support them. But it's like I am also looking at, are they going to be posting? How much are they going to be posting? Are the posts any good? Because that also matters. Quality content matters. They don't just want a fuzzy kind of photo with like a retro filter on it. And you do kind of need to stay up to date with social media. So yeah, first thing they're going to do is look at your Instagram. They're going to say, oh, but also actually, okay, this really frustrates me. I do have to put this out here. When you're tagging a company, please actually just tag them in the photo and don't just mention them in the comment. Because then if people want to go see, like, it's also like a review thing as well. Like, if I'm looking at, like, buying something from a company, or, like, if I'm looking at a service, or, like, even a coach, I'm going to go straight to their tagged and say, who is this coach coached, and what do they look like? Same with bikinis. Have a look at their tagged. And if you just mention the comment that doesn't show up in the tagged.
Yeah, you got to do at least both. But it's like,
the mention the comment honestly isn't even that much. I would rather be tagged than mentioned in the comment.
It's only that I know that you mentioned me, but yeah, if you tag in the post, you get a different yield on it. But it's like, content creation is currency now. It's as much as I hate it, because I am not a content creator, as Lord help me. No. Hey, there is a whole bunch of memes going around right now. Thank you very much, young lady. And I'm not happy about this. I'm not happy about all these memes. Have you seen half the ones that my wife has put together?
No, I don't think I have.
I'm surprised she hasn't shared them with you. And we're not talking about the sparkly pants ones. That's a whole different story. She's got a whole lot going on there. Yeah, content creation, it's the currency. It's the engagement that matters more than the followers. It's like, you could only have 500 followers, but if your engagement levels are high, as a business, that's attractive, because then it shows that people actually give up what you say.
Which is why social media manager is a job now.
Yeah.
And people pay you. People will hire people to create social media, what's the word? Like kits. Like, here's my branding kit. And they will hire people to create posts. And you can just send them content. Like, it is a whole job now. It's crazy. That's just come out in the past, 10 years? That's nuts how much things have changed. So yeah, when you are listening to a lot of these podcasts, some of these athletes have been around for a very long time. And a lot of them are from places like America, where there is a little bit more money. Here in New Zealand, a lot less money and a lot less business opportunities and a lot less social media. So it's like, you do need to think about it as more of a partnership than give me free stuff.
I mean, it's even like with us here on the podcast. It's like, okay, we were top 3 in Australasia last year, but if you compare our listenership to, say, somebody in the same position in the US, we're like the local corner dairy compared to Pack and Save. It's to do with the size. But the thing you've got to remember, what the business is looking for is the sales impact is often their hidden measurement. They are looking at how much money you are generating for them. As much as Rachel said, if we had unlimited pockets, a lot of us would love to do free. I am, both Rachel and I were such big fans of the sport of bodybuilding. If I had won the lottery, I would love to just have Bodybuilding Federation where nobody has to pay to enter the shows, where there was
free
decent
tanning.
Prize money, there was free tanning, there was free this. It was just
makeup
you show
artists
up
on site.
Yeah, makeup, everything. It was like your dream show. You walk into the doors and it's like the lights come on. It's like, but unfortunately, promotion of bodybuilding is also a business. So the hidden measurement is how much you sell. You sell, you get more.
And then the other thing to remember is that rich people don't get richer by giving away their money. Rich people often are the stingiest. Let's be honest here.
Yep. It's a lot easier to make money if you've got it.
It is. It definitely is. But then, yeah, they also are going to protect their investment. So even if you have a big business, they're going to protect their they're going to protect their business. Unfortunately, money does make the world go round at this point.
Yeah, as much as I would like to not to, but it does. But I mean, the thing is, sponsorship is a two-way street. So it's just as important for us really to talk about what athletes should reasonably expect in return. So yeah, when you were doing sponsorship, Rachel, I guess one of the things that you looked at when you're looking for, I know it was for me, is I would look at the clear expectation of what the deliverables were.
Yes.
What do you as a business expect from me?
Yeah, so I have a written contract. I have like this. I expect this X amount of posts for X amount of discount or X amount of store credit. I didn't used to do that, and I did get penalized for it. Last year, I used to just kind of give discounts to certain people, and I often wasn't getting tagged in things. I wasn't actually getting any promotion. It was kind of treated more as just like a gift. So it didn't actually help me in any way. It did help the athletes, yes, but it is more me being taken from than actually any kind of let's help each other. Like, I wish it didn't have to be that way. I would love to just be able to be like, here's a discount, here's a discount. But unfortunately, I
Here's
need
a free
something
bikini.
back.
I mean, unfortunately, that is the expectation of a lot of the
Oh, especially with bikinis.
higher
People
level
just want a
athletes.
free bikini, but like it costs a lot of money to make these bikinis.
Yeah,
People
it's a
don't
lot of time and
realize
effort.
that. Yeah, like it's
So-
not even just the time. Like the materials are getting so expensive. Like people think, oh yeah, it's just a little bit of material, but I'm spending hundreds and thousands of dollars on shipping these items to New Zealand. Like I'm spending so 50% of the cost of the connectors and the material, 50% of it on top shipping.
Yeah,
So
that's a shipping.
if I spend $1,000 fabric, I spend $500 then on shipping to get it to New Zealand. So everything that I buy is going up 50%, which, yeah, so I think that's something that a lot of people aren't quite keeping up with is that things are changing very, very fast these past 5 years. Every year it's different, every single year. And people, it's very easy to get kind of stuck in. I feel like in 2010s, 10 years, everything was quite mellow. Like it changed slowly. There were slow adaptations, whereas now it's very, very fast paced. Things are changing by the hour. Like we've got issues with like last year there was the tariffs with Trump skyrocketed. Now we've got the petrol situation. Everything's going to skyrocket again. All these issues are just increasing the prices of everything, which makes it very hard for businesses. Sorry, I rambled on that one a little bit.
But they're all very valid ramblings. I mean, that's the thing. As an athlete, though, you should expect fair value exchange for what you do. You've got to know your worth. If you're required to do X number of posts, X number of reels, X number of stories, and you know how long that's going to take you to create, to edit, record, edit, post, or whatever. If it's going to take you a certain number of hours per week and you're only receiving $100 per month, well, that's not a fair value exchange. That's slave labor. So you've got to stand up for yourself there as well. And you also deserve to be treated with respect from the
From
business.
those brands.
Yeah. But also, don't look for sponsorship from everybody. Your brand alignment matters more than people realize. You've got to
That
align to be a brand.
annoys me so much when people just are constantly flip-flopping and trying to sell whatever they can. It bugs me because I know that they don't actually use that product or they don't like it.
Yeah. It's like, and business owners aren't stupid. Yeah, they look and they say, well, hang on, for 6 months she was sponsored by X, for 3 months she was sponsored by Y, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, and then I've known some businesses who they're not sponsoring an athlete, but they are supplying that athlete with their nutritional supplements because that athlete doesn't actually like the one that they're getting sponsored by. And it's like, well, if you were that business owner who was supplying them and they came to you and said, hey, I'd be like, yeah, your authenticity's a little on the shit side.
Because, yeah, I've actually seen a couple of competitors who have discount codes for bikini companies that I know for a fact they've never bought from.
Yeah.
And they are promoting this code for another company that they have never once bought anything from. Like, so it happens a lot, and it's the same with supplements. I know for a fact one guy who he had this tub of protein powder that he got given, took a photo with it, and then it was all over the social medias. And I know for a fact that he gave it away because he didn't like it, and he couldn't have it because he was in prep, and it was like it was very high in the carbs. So he didn't even have it at all. But he was the face of this protein, so it was like there's no authenticity in there. And a lot of companies, especially in New Zealand, it's important. We as a country don't like sales. We don't like feeling like someone is trying to sell us something. When you go into a retail store and someone approaches you and says, "Hi, can I help you?" or "Are you looking for something?" Usually you're like, "I'm good, go away."
No,
And
I'm not looking for anything. I'm just in the store for the hell of it.
And the worst part is when they then start like being like, "Oh, I think you'd really suit this," and I think like we don't like that in New Zealand. Like it's kind of our culture. We just like to be a little bit more authentic. We like to be left to our own devices to pick our own thing. I don't know about you, Chris, but as soon as someone tells me something to buy or like tries or like gives me even like their name and says, "Hey, can you give me a review?" I'm like, no, I was going to, but now I'm not.
We went somewhere once where they actually said, if you scan this code and showed us that you gave us a Google review, we'll give you 20% off.
Oh yeah, I've had my nail place did that. They were like, "You can get 50% off your next nails if you give us a good Google review."
Which is actually against Google's policy. But hey, we digress. So we've rambled on a little bit about what the expectations and risks, of sponsorship both ways. What we should probably go over is realistically, how do you work towards getting a sponsorship? It's not just going to get given to you. So Rich and I come up with a few steps. First one is reliability, is show up consistently for that brand. That means showing up online, showing up with consistent approach, consistent delivery. Your next step is your identity, is be recognizable. And that comes down to the authenticity, how you're doing stuff. Nobody's going to give you a sponsorship if you're 3 months into your competitive career, which means you've barely started prep. Nobody's heard of you, and right now you're posting your reel every week. Here's my vlog of my prep journey, which everybody does, and nobody gives a flying shit over.
Actually, to be honest, when I first started competing, I really loved watching people. Like, there was one girl in particular who she posted the stories every day of like updates on her prep, and I loved watching that on the treadmill. That, I mean, to be fair, I don't think there was a lot of YouTube or podcasts back then, but some people do like it, to be fair.
Some people do, but you've got to be a bit more.
Usually it is the first timers.
You've also got to have valuable content.
Yeah.
You know, that's a key thing. And both Rach and I mentioned before, support the brand that you're going after for sponsorship first. You know, put your money where your mouth is. Spend some money on them, particularly in New Zealand. They're small local businesses. You know, support them. Buy their products. If they've got a story that you actually like about what they've said, share the goddamn story. They see that. You know, it's like, hang on, this person's actually already supporting our brand, so therefore it makes sense.
Also, you know then that you're not just promoting something random. Like, if you get a sponsorship from a company that you've never bought from, you get the product and you're like, this is shit. Then what?
Yeah, I'm supposed to say something about this. You're like, well...
It's like, how are you supposed to do your, like, protein, like, drinking, like, shot or video if you're like, I'm going to spit it out?
Or you're promoting a whey protein product and everybody knows you're vegan. It's like...
Yes, that one's an interesting one.
Which I've seen.
Really?
Yeah, and it's just like, I know you're vegan because I wrote your plan. So what the... Yeah, but, yeah. The other thing is, you've got to deliver results. Show that you can deliver results. This is before you get the sponsorship. You're going to deliver results by showing that you've got interaction. You've got, whatever the word is, I've forgotten now. You know, you're showing that people are interacting with your content. You're showing that you're interacting with them. So you've got, because that's the way they're going to sponsor you, right? Because you've already got a market. It's not just that you're creating ads for them blindly. It's they look at you and go, hey, well, you've already got 500 people who actually pretty give a flying about what you say. It's another market for them. The other thing is, you've got to approach it professionally. If you're looking for sponsorship, which goes beyond, I'm looking to get my protein for free. Yeah, if you're looking for sponsorship, be professional about it.
Don't just be like, hey, give me free stuff, because it happens all the time.
It does. And maintain value. That's what they're looking for, is that you're keeping consistent value across the whole thing. There are, of course, wouldn't be fair if we didn't go in about it. There are some red flags to look for when looking for sponsors from the athletes that you should look at, because not every sponsorship is a good one. Probably the first red flag, exposure-only deals, you know, where they're literally like, you know, you've got to talk about brand offers, weekly posts, competition taggings, and essentially they give you one hoodie. That's unpaid advertising. Okay, you're getting nothing for the work. So anything that talks about that, you know, that you give them exposure and they're going to give you X, it's probably...
Yeah, you need measurable quantities on both sides. So the way I've done mine is I've said, you get this amount of discount for this amount of products. In return, I expect this amount of posts. If there's no end game to either or, like it's just like it's too much, and that you don't know where it is. You don't know where the end is. So it is actually really important to also look through those contracts. The other thing I think is important to note that I put into my contracts just to protect the athlete as well is that, so I get rights to use their photos for advertising, yes, but for a year after their contract is expired, because if it's a year contract, that gives it 2 years. If they don't want their photos on my website anymore, they can request for it to be removed and I will remove it. So that also protects the athlete from then being used well beyond their contract. So if you, for example, are sponsored by a company, you end up having a falling out, leaving said company, they are still able to use your photos for advertising because there's no end clause to it. So that is also something to consider, is that if you are giving someone the right to your photos and there's no end date to it, which I've actually learned this through my partner doing some modeling. If there's no end date to it, they can just use your photos forever. And if you don't like that product anymore, too bad. Your photos are still being used.
That in itself is a pretty big red flag if there's no clear agreement. So like if the brand says, sure, we'd love to work with you, but provides no structure, and then a couple of months later they start to complain that you're not doing this and you're not doing that, or as Rachel said, there's no end date. That ambiguity it could end you up in a whole bunch of stress that you don't want to deal with, because generally company's going to have slightly deeper pockets than you are, and they are going to try and enforce things that essentially they probably can't. But because you start throwing a letter from a lawyer in there with a couple of big names after, letters after their name, and most of us will go, oh, okay. So get to make sure it's a good agreement. For the love of all things, people, don't take your parents' word for it when somebody sends you a contract. Pay a $300 and go and see a lawyer, have them run through it and give you some advice. And that lawyer shouldn't be putting the contract into ChatGPT and saying, is this okay?
To be honest, though, most of those contracts, they shouldn't be that long. They should really only be max, 3 pages?
Yeah, but it's not. You're not talking about a software agreement where you have no choice. You are talking about a contract that could potentially get you in, as you said, they could have use of your image in perpetuity. Yep. They could use it for whatever they want, which you may not agree with. So spend the money, take it to a lawyer. Yes, it will cost you, but it potentially could save you a ton in the long run. Probably the other one, really big to keep an eye out for, is forced exclusivity, meaning they restrict you to only what you can, only the one brand. You get minimal for it, and you're now limited with very little benefit because there's nothing else you can do. And there are businesses out there that do that, and it's their business model. It
depends on the way it's done, I think, a little bit. So if they've said you cannot do anything to do with another company, this is it, then yes, definitely red flag. But I do also think that there is a point to an exclusivity clause in a contract if they're saying, I also don't want you to promote another competing company. That it's usually like a non-compete almost, right? It's not necessarily like a exclusivity, it's more like a non-compete. So if you're sponsored by X supplement company, please don't tag Y supplement company in all your posts. That is fine. That is fine. But if they're saying you are not allowed to buy anyone else's products, you only buy from us, you only do this, that is a bit more of a red flag.
You can own, when I say forced exclusivity, that is literally somebody saying you cannot promote any brand, period. If it's you cannot promote any other protein brand, that's fine. That's fair enough. But if they're basically saying, no, you're my little minion, my little marketing genius, you go off and create your content, but I want to be the only benefit of it.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about all other, for example, a supplement brand, but then you also can't promote a gym.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that does, there are companies.
Because I was did I do my contracts wrong?
You asked ChatGPT.
No, I didn't. I actually wrote it myself. Thank you very much.
Oh, there you go. Good. Did you pay for a lawyer?
I didn't, no.
We shall discuss this off here. The other thing you got a red flag is reputational risk. You've got to look at the company that you want to be sponsored by, or who wants to sponsor you. Does that brand have poor reviews? You're going to be representing them publicly. Their reputation becomes yours. So if you're saying, hey, look, I'm standing behind this company, and all the Google reviews and the Trustpilot reviews and all this are saying this person is a scumbag, well, by association, you are a scumbag. So weigh up that $200 in supplements that you're going to get, or that makeup voucher, or whatever you're going to get, in exchange for it. It's your reputation on the line as much as theirs. And if that reputation doesn't speak to you, back the hell away.
So what Chris is saying, if you are still advertising push gummies.
I wasn't going to go there, but all right. Yeah, I thought I'd leave that one. I thought that was a little too raw, but great.
I didn't say anything. I just said if you are advertising, there's nothing follow up, so hopefully we can't get in any legal trouble.
No. Actually, I did have one of the girls last year. She got approached and she's like, I've been given this opportunity. And I was like, hell no. And that was before all the controversy came out. I was like,
yeah. No, but also, remember, when you promote a brand, people can see it as well. And it does reflect on your brand identity. It all kind of interlinks. So, for example, people who tend to be into things like Arbonne or pyramid schemes, I tend not to trust.
She's playing with fire now.
I am a little bit. I tend to be a bit skeptical.
Yes. Good.
Yes. It's not that I'm just straight up ugh, I don't like you anymore. It's more
That we're saying there's anything wrong with those products. They're perfectly good products. We just don't
it's just the way, the marketing strategy, technically it's illegal, but still happens. But those kind of things, it's that it's being sold for money and that everything is just based around you earning more money off that product at that point, which then does come across as less genuine.
Yes, yeah. It's hey, I've got a business opportunity for you, but I can't tell you about it We have to have it. Let's meet up for coffee to discuss it. I'm like, fuck, red flag. I'm the hell out of here.
I actually get so many emails like that. It's ridiculous.
Hi, Queen. I'd love to talk to you about the. Really? I got one the other day. It's like, bro, what they say? They were like, buddy, haven't seen you for ages. I'd really love to get together with you and chat about these hair products. I said, I'm freaking bald, you son. I was like,
It's for your beard.
yeah, I was like, beard oil? Okay, cool. We can go with that. But it was
No,
like,
I actually got tricked
hair
one
products?
time. They were good, and they said like they sent one to my bikini company email, and they were like, oh, yeah, so I have a question about your bikinis. Like, can I get some help? And so I obviously replied saying like, yes, of course. And they were like, oh yeah, so for your business, like your advertising structure, I can make you this much money in this much time. And I'm like, they got me.
Sucker. They got me. Yep, got me now. And that's another red flag. Conda stuff. Mentioned it before, unrealistic posting demands. What their daily posting expectations are, minimal compensation for it. I mean, that's not sponsorships. Well, I think the term is called content farming, where they're getting you to do the work that they would pay a marketing agency good money to do, because they're like, no, why should I pay them? That idiot will do it.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, the flip side of it though is that a lot of these companies, they can get it for free, because with social media now, with all the people who are wanting to be influencers, they do it for free anyway. That's the issue. So it does become a little bit of a circle, because it's like you need to show the brand that you're going to do the work and that you can do the work. Basically, it's like having a portfolio. Your Instagram is your portfolio of like basically a modeling agency, just without the modeling agency. But they can get it for free these days. A lot of especially the bigger companies where people are like, they're constantly sponsoring people and people know that. And so they are constantly getting tags and people wanting to be sponsored. So that's the hard part. It's like, why would you pay someone more when you don't have to pay them at all?
Yep.
That's the hard part. Because I mean, me and Chris, unfortunately, the reason we're broke is we have morals.
I think we're more financially challenged than broke.
Financially challenged, okay. Financially challenged. A lot of these other companies have managed to make a lot more money than us. A lot of these other businesses, because they're able to cut corners in certain ways.
Yes, a lot of them like that. But that also comes to another red flag, which is from a business perspective, which is where I think a lot of athletes in New Zealand that are looking for a sponsorship. I don't mean to be rude, but you guys are freebie hunters.
Yes, they are.
You're looking for shit for free. If you're not going to display loyalty to me as a business owner, and I know you're just coming after me as a business so I can give you stuff for free, sponsors notice that stuff quickly. It's like, why would I give that to you for free when I saw last week, take coaching, for example, the number of times I get people approach me that are a good high-level athlete and they are with a reputable coach, and they say, if you coach me for free, I'll cross to you. And I'm like, why? 3 months earlier, you were coached by this guy. 3 months before that, you were coached by that guy. 3 months before that, you were coached by that guy. And at one time, you were coached by two people at the same time. So why would I do that? Because you're not showing any loyalty to them, which is
Also,
a big
it's like,
thing for me.
How many people would they then need to get to sign up to then cover the cost of being coached for free at that point?
Yep.
Because it is time.
It is time. People forget that. It's not all fill out this form and an app 30 seconds later is going to give you a plan. Look, there is coaching that's out there.
I was going to
like
say there is some.
But sponsors quickly notice if you're just looking for freebies. If you're just looking for free, in Rachel's case, you're just looking for a free bikini. There's a difference between asking for a discount and tagging and doing the work. That's cool. But if the first thing out of your mouth is, I need a free bikini for my competition, and you actually have an approach, Rachel will say, the smart way to do it, guys, is to make Rachel an offer. And this is with any business. This is what I can do for you.
Yeah,
and
which
this
one
is
of the
what
girls
I
actually
would like
did.
in return.
Yeah, one of my girls, like most of the girls I usually approach people. One of them, who had been working with me for a few suits, said, hey, in exchange for this, is there a chance that we can do this? So she did make that offer of like, hey, here's some give and take. Not, hey, so I am a really good athlete. Do you want to give it for free? Like, it's even, I've approached a company before as well. I asked actually if there was any places I could work for them, because I was about to be like, hey, give me free stuff. I said like, hey, look, I'd really love to work with you guys at one point. Is there any job openings available? Or like, if you do have sponsorships, I know that might not be a thing for me, but is there any way where I can look to find out? I wasn't just saying, hey, come sponsor me. I was trying to see what can I do for them first. So that is something that's really important. There is the moment you start saying, hey, I am a great athlete. I've won a gold medal. Give me free stuff.
Yeah.
That is when people will be like, no.
Yeah. One of my first sponsorships was gym membership in West Auckland, where Joe Olberg and I used to train when we were kids. And I approached them and I said, look, I would like to train at your gym. And I'm training for this junior competition. I was like 16, I think. And I said to them, I didn't ask for the gym membership for free. I said, I will clean the gym after hours in exchange for my gym membership. I didn't have any idea what slave labor was or what minimum rate was. I thought I was getting a good deal because I wasn't paying for a gym membership, but it was taking me 3 hours every night to clean the gym. So basically I was getting screwed.
That was your fault.
I put it out there like, I will give you something in exchange. Social media didn't exist then. So I was like, I got 2 hands, I can clean. So I guess the other thing is sponsorship is not a salary. It's not a reward.
Not really anymore.
It's also not permanent. Yeah, it's not free money. You got to work for it. It's not the ultimate goal of being an athlete or an influencer. Like, I'm going to be sponsored by X, because there's just not enough money for it. And I think the question, if you're looking for sponsorship, one of the things you've got to really say before you approach a company is the question you have to ask is, would you sponsor yourself? If you were a business owner, would you invest in yourself? Would your content drive purchases? Would you renew your own deal?
I mean, some people might have a very high opinion of themselves, as we know. So they might still think yes. Yeah, as we say, it's not just that, like, companies cannot afford to just support you just out of goodwill, usually. Like, it's not common anymore. It's very much not common. Like, every now and then, like, sometimes in the community, you're able to get little gifts or little sponsorships from people. Like, here, like, we want you to have this. But it's a community-based thing. You know the people, potentially you've worked with them before. Even in that case, you've done something. So it's very much, you do have, it's like a job interview. Like you kind of have to think about it like it's almost like a part-time job. It doesn't have to be a huge part-time job. It could be like very casual, but it is in a way a job. It's just not getting paid necessarily cash.
It isn't magic. Sponsorship isn't magic. It's business. And if you're the product, make yourself a valuable product first. If you're a valuable product, everything else will follow on from that.
And please don't represent brands that you don't even like.
Yeah, that's if you literally see your post and go, ick, probably shouldn't be representing that company. And also, any reputable company will probably figure that out pretty quick anyway. So, you know,
I mean,
so hopefully we're shedding some light.
Things can change. That's why your contract should have an end date, because like your sponsorship needs to be able to end at some point if you want it to. Because so I'm no longer sponsored. Like not necessarily anything bad on the company that I was sponsorship. It just wasn't working for me anymore. Like the agreement, it just wasn't right for me anymore. I no longer was able to choose the products I wanted, or the products that I actually liked. And so that's when I ended it. It wasn't necessarily because I had a big falling out or anything. It was just, it no longer was in my best interest, and I didn't want to promote products that I didn't like, because that's not in the company's best interest. So again, it comes down to everybody's best interest. Yep.
And it's a two-way relationship. Hopefully we've given you guys a little bit of guidance of what sponsorship is. Remember, sponsorship versus affiliate. You know, when you're getting a discount code, you know, and you're using that and you're paid on that, you're an affiliate. There are businesses based around affiliate codes.
You can be a combination.
You can be a combination. But, you know, you've got to make sure that you are getting, one, you're offering value, and two, you're delivering value. You know, you're receiving value. I mean, you're not only just a product, but, you know, you are doing this work for a return, and that return should be fair market value, what you perceive as being fair market value. And if it doesn't stack up, back away. I very rarely sponsor people, and I don't sponsor them based on commercial value. My issue is I sponsor them on because I genuinely believe in some person, and there may be a reason that they can't afford to do a certain thing. In that case, that's on me. My expectations are very clearly written out in that agreement, and they're not particularly draconian, because I actually don't really want people knowing that I'm sponsoring you. So anyway, we have been remiss today. We need to end today's episode on Brooke's Follies, aka the SHARNS, which one of these days, I think we should just get a whole bunch of them and we'll just have Brooke read them out.
Yeah, we should. I think we should get her on for an episode. And I actually do have one.
Just Follies. Yeah. Which one have you got? I've got two.
No, I've got my own one.
Woohoo! Okay, let's
go.
Ooh, here we go.
So, I'm not sure if this is supposed to be anonymous or not, so I just won't say the name for now. But from ex-client of mine, so I have done some stupid shit in prep. Prepay petrol and then driving off with...
I need popcorn. Right, go.
Wait. Prepay petrol and then driving off without putting the petrol in my car. head off in the car to go to the laundromat, and then drive off with the kids going, Mum, why have you left the basket in the middle of the driveway? To then drive back to the washing and then straight past the laundromat. That sounded hectic. So yeah, that was an incident where we forgot both washing and petrol, which I'm sure people don't want to do these days. Moved house right in the middle of prep. Moved from a rural area to in town. Drove to the rural property after work instead of the new house.
Is this all the same person?
This is all the same person. Wait, I've still got a couple more.
Holy gee. This person should not compete. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, this one's standard. Inside-out clothing, that's fine.
Yeah, that's
Putting
okay.
stuff in other people's shopping trolleys, it happens. Taking someone else's shopping trolley. I can't say I've ever done that one.
No, haven't done that one.
And then another one, tried to scan a capsicum the other day while... This is actually a different person, this one. Tried to scan a capsicum while at the self-checkout. So, yeah, you shouldn't scan a fruit without a barcode.
Okay. Well, we do have
There's some good
another...
ones in there.
There's some good ones in there.
Oh, hello.
Oh, hello, Rusty. So nice of you to join us. This one has asked to be anonymous. It literally says, anonymous, please. We were like, I had an argument with my husband about prime versus premium mince. Legitimate argument. I didn't believe he was cooking lean mince as it looked oily in the pan. So I threw the whole pan of cooked mince in the sink. I was delusional, hungry, and I thought she was going to say Adam. I was delusional, hungry, and unreasonable. This prep, my goal is to treat my husband more nicely. He's also had a bunch of bananas thrown at him when he's a little smart. Of course, they missed him. I'm very truly grateful to him as he measures out all my meals. Yep. I said, wow, you're really mean. She says, yep, raging perimenopausal woman. I work with people all day in healthcare, so it really takes a lot of effort to be nice all day. I'm much nicer when I have a healthy weight and can be normal. I've learned this through prep. I'll handle it better. She says, my husband has learned just to keep away and feed me. Definitely had to give all your energy 100% all day. Then be nice wife and mum. Prioritize sleep and eating, overtraining, I think, during prep this time. As women, we need to function for all our roles. I'm very fortunate with my hubby. He's supported me 100%. Good cover here. I made this decision to compete at 40 for the first time without his consultation. I just said, I'm doing it, and he never argued. Then again, this year, 100% on board. So, well done. So, I actually have a SHARN myself
yes.
from one of my very first sponsorships. And I had thought I would never actually repeat this story in public, but why not? So, many moons ago in my young 20s, sponsorship looked very different than it did today. You were generally sponsored by, you were normally required to make some form of appearance to earn your money, whether it be at a store or whatever like that. I was approached by a nightclub.
So what appearance were you expected?
So this sponsorship involves me showing up on Friday night just before the World Champs. Now, bear in mind, they were paying half of my airfare to go to the World Champs. So I had to show up on a Friday night to serve drinks. Okay, you can see where this is going, right?
I think so, but continue.
Yes. So it
I'm
was
going to make you say it.
an appearance-based promotion. So wasn't an agreement. So I showed up on Friday night to serve drinks at this particular establishment, and they gave me a little pair of gold sparkly shorts.
Of course they did.
And that was it. They then proceeded to spray me with baby oil and have me stand behind the bar serving shots of Jell-O cocktails. And this bar was a very well-known gay bar. Yeah. So the moral of that story is if you're asked to do personal appearances, make sure you know what they're expecting, because all I can say is I am extremely grateful that social media did not exist in the early 90s, because that would be a sponsorship I really don't want people knowing about. But I did appreciate the 50% of my airfare being paid.
So basically, you was a bit of a slut for getting your entry fee paid.
Yep. Yep.
You became a shirtless waiter. Actually, even worse than a shirtless waiter. You were like a Hooters girl.
Yeah, it's actually not far from the truth. They did spray me with baby oil and throw glitter on me. It should have been a sign, but, I was young and impressionable.
And we love sparkles, always.
Yes, that's probably where my passion for sparkles started. That was a long time ago.
Or are you too traumatized?
Yeah.
It's a trauma response.
I know. It's like, God. Every time I walk past that bar, I'm still like going, never, ever, ever again am I walking in that door. So, yes,
that is a good one.
Yep. So it's like, yeah, we used to do stupid shit. So, anyway. All right. So, before you head off, if you've got something in today's episode, do us a favor, like, subscribe, and leave a comment, or follow us on YouTube or Spotify. It actually does help the podcast way more than you think, and it means we can keep having these honest conversations without having to get sponsors. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you all next Monday for that bright and early cardio.
Enjoy.